everyone, welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today I have a special guest with us. He's an author, and he has two books out right now. His newest book, which is called DECAY, and he also has one called Five. I have with us Andrew Keeby. Andrew, welcome to the Horror Room.
Hi, nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me. It's I've been looking forward to it. Super excited.
I'm excited as well. Well, man, I'm excited as well. By the way, what is that in the backdrop? Is it comic books?
Oh, they are old Spider-Man toys from the '93 line.
Nice. I'm a huge toy collector myself, so
Yes, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. So I have a couple from '93 that I still have. I mean, they're not perfectly mint, but they're all right.
love it, man. Love it. All right, so real quick, let's shoot into your newest book, which is called DECAY. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so it's basically for people who love zombies and love Squid Games. So I essentially took the concept of Squid Games and kind of meshed it into my own world and coupled it with zombies. So the easiest way to think about it is that a group of people are sign up for an experiment that they don't quite get all of the details about up front, and they quickly find out that there are a series of challenges that they need to try to work together to get through, and while doing that they have to also survive an onslaught of zombies coming after them.
Now, Andrew, that's an interesting concept. Now, okay, so because I do love Squid Game, has the second season came out yet?
I think the second season is coming out this fall. I remember seeing a trailer recently.
Okay,
I think it's soon. Yeah. I don't think it's quite out yet.
Because I kind of been off of Netflix for a couple months, and I don't know if it came on or not. But I actually enjoyed the first season, and also love zombies, man. So I mean, that's a win-win for me.
Yeah, it. So to be honest, the game concept of it wasn't originally part of the idea. So the original idea was these people would get put into a warehouse and they had to survive an onslaught of zombies. And when I had first originally kind of messed around and created the idea, it was a little bit more of a screenplay. And so I kind of went in a different direction as COVID hit, and then I started going more towards book writing. And I ended up just realizing that in a book setting, just being stuck in a warehouse killing zombies, like, it's super exciting when you watch it, but when you read it, it becomes boring like halfway through the book. So then I sat there for probably about a good 3-4 weeks being like, how can I make this idea work? And then somehow I eventually landed on, oh wait, why don't I do something like Squid Games? What led me down that path is on Netflix I started watching Alice in Borderland.
Great show.
And I was like, okay, but those are games. That's kind of cool. And I was like, well, Squid Games did this, and the games were a little bit easier to understand. And so then I kind of that's how I found the path, was Alice in Borderland to Squid Games. And then I went, this is the idea. This is how I make it interesting for a book.
So what does the contestants win by surviving?
So each contestant signs up for their own specific prize. So, for example, the main character that we follow, Sam Williams, he was promised the ability to find his sister and get his sister back. His parents died when they were, I should say their parents died when they were very young. They were put into the foster system and actually got separated. And so then because of, privacy laws and everything, he grew up and out of the system, and his sister's still in the system. And so this person comes by and promises that he can, give him that. He can, they can find his sister and reconnect them if he gets through. And that's his prize. Other prizes, I won't say character names just to leave a little bit of mystery. But other prizes are like a huge rock, metal record label signing, freedom from prison, things of that nature. So everybody kind of has everybody's goal is to get to the end, but everybody has a different prize awaiting them at the end.
Now, when you were writing this book, did you think about if you were in this game, what your prize would be?
That's a really good question. I never thought about that. Surprising I haven't thought about that.
Really?
Yeah. Short of something that is insanely impossible, like time travel or something, right? Like,
yeah.
Outside of that, something more in the realm of believability.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably go for money.
That's what I would go for. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah, and for me
right
and for me it would be the money would give me the financial freedom to be able to be an author full time.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not for me. It's not like I want this money so that way I'm just rich and I can whatever. Like for me, it's about I don't have to have a day job and I can do the thing that I love all the time.
And I agree. I mean, you know, when I hear people say, "Oh my goodness, if I get $1 billion or something like that,
yeah,
I'm gonna get a Bugatti and a mansion and 20 prostitutes and shit like that." For me, it's not about. Yes, of course I would get some nice material shit, but I am a huge I love to travel, right?
mm-hmm.
And I love to travel the world. But A, that becomes expensive. B, we have a full-time job. How do you that? And and even this YouTube show. I mean, you know, I have a full-time job. This comes in the evenings and late at night, and I put it together. I'm like, boy, how much better can my show be, and how more relaxed I could be if I didn't have to work a full-time job.
Yeah, absolutely. A perfect example I use all the time is I say, if we had the money and money was no object, I wouldn't mow my own lawn. I'd pay somebody to do it. No. Not because I don't want to do it or I don't physically have the ability, but I recognize that that's an hour and a half of my time a week that I could get back to be able to, you know, be with my wife or be with family or write or whatever. That's how I look at it.
Because time is worth more than money to me, because it's something that you just don't get back. And once it's gone, it's gone.
Yes, exactly.
So, by the way, so going back to zombies, where do these zombies come from? Without giving away the book, is there a virus? Is this something? Are these man-made zombies?
Yeah. So, without giving too much away, I will say that these are man-made zombies. I'll only go as far as that, because I've had a lot of people who have read the book kind of come up to me afterwards and go, I knew something was up, because there's the way certain things happen. I knew something was up. And then when they hit that twist in the last chapter, they're like, but I didn't think it was going to be that. The reason behind it was not what they were expecting. But they knew, you know what I mean? There's little hints, and you kind of get the feeling you're like something's up. And then when that twist comes, you go, that's what it is. I knew it was something, but I didn't think it was going to be that. I'll at least say that or at least as far as anybody's told me, nobody has come to me and been like, I saw that. I knew that's what was going to happen. I knew that's what it was. So they are man-made. And I'll kind of leave it at that. So then you can kind of speculate on how they might be man-made.
Now, Andrew, don't you think we're on a cusp of, I can remember back and, watching movies like Death Race and even video games like Manhunt, where, it's, when it comes down to it, don't you think we're on a cusp of, as audience, we are getting bored? I mean, reality TV is dead, Mm-hmm. TV series are kind of dying. Movies are kind of dying. Don't you think we're on the cusp of something like a Squid Game or something like that actually happening?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. And I think that it would be because everything else is on a downtrend, like you were saying, and they need to find the next idea that captures audience attention. I know you said you had jumped off of Netflix, but and I haven't seen it, so I can't comment on how good or not good it is or whatever. But apparently in the UK, and they showed it on Netflix, they took like 100 real people and like did Squid Game with them. Obviously,
Heard about that.
obviously without the killing.
Yes.
But yeah, it's I think we are getting close to that. There's going to be something that is like so over the top ridiculous, and that's going to be the only way to grab people's attentions.
But as humans, you think we're humane enough to be like, oh my goodness, if we start having prisoners fight to the death or something like that, do you think as humans, as a society, do you think we're humane enough to be like, no, we don't want to see this. This is let's boycott this, or do you think that there's going to be overwhelming people who, like me, who will be curious and watch?
That's a really good question, and I think it will be split. I think there will be people who are like against it from the start, and then I think there will be people who are like all for it. And I also think there will be people who switch sides after they see it. There will be people who were against it that were like, nah, and there were people who were like, no, that are then or were for, you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's. I question if there would be enough uprising to not at least have it pilot. Like there'd be enough interest that a pilot would run.
Yes, because I would definitely watch a pilot. I mean, listen, even like the whole zombie game show, when you watch it, you at least watch the pilot, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's the other thing, right? Are they willing, participants and
Mm-hmm.
of age and all that kind of, kind of stuff? Do they know what they're getting into? Is an important aspect of it. But yeah, I think there would be enough interest in it that there would be a pilot that would be widely watched. And I
Yeah,
think there'd be a lot of people who then form their opinions after seeing the pilot.
I agree, and I think there will be a. I think with the pilot there wouldn't be no sponsors, but after they see, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
hundreds of millions of people watching it, I think we'll see Bud Light and
Yep.
Doritos being sponsors.
Yeah, that's a really good point about, yeah, there would be no sponsors in the beginning because it's such a, I don't want to say niche isn't the right word, but it's such a unknown entity.
Yes,
And I expect there would probably have to be they'd have to figure out how to do it live.
you have to do it live.
But yeah, because it's live media is king and is becoming king in our age. The
Yeah.
the rights for sporting events, even pro wrestling, like anything that runs live,
Mm-hmm.
they are king and are ideally the only thing that is keeping cable alive. Really,
I 100% agree. I mean, I just watched the Castle WWE thing that this weekend.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, there's something interesting about watching something live because anything can happen. There could be mistakes, error. Somebody could curse and swear that you can't bleep it out. But I also think so. Like, but we're in this stage in life right now where we don't know what's real and what's fake. Like,
Mhm.
I watch shit on social media. I'm like, well, that's real, and then you start reading the comments. People are like, well, that's completely scripted. That's fake. That's blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah. There's always those guys out there who say everything is scripted and everything is fake.
hmm
Don't you feel like even with the zombies, listen, there's man-made zombies or Squid Games, there'll be a lot of people out there who are the naysayers say that this is fake.
Oh, absolutely. There would be a lot of. I think there'd be two sets of those type of people. There'd be people who legitimately believe that it's fake, and I mean, we're seeing it. We see it now every single day with news, social media, politics, everything. Like,
Mhm.
so I think there are people who would legitimately believe that it's fake. I also think that there are some people who would push them, like say it's fake and push themselves to keep saying it's fake, because the acknowledgement that what's happening is real is like too much for them.
Yeah.
Like, Netflix had a documentary on flat earthers, and it was a fantastic documentary. Like, it doesn't make fun of them in any way, shape, or form. And there's like this moment where they say, like, we're going to try to, do an experiment, and the experiment kind of ends up proving that they're wrong. And then they were like, well, no, there was something wrong with the thing, and we're going to try this other experiment. Like, you're stuck in that bubble. And I think a lot of people will be like, the breaking of their internal reality of what they're actually watching, and so like they will convince themselves it's fake. So there'll be people who convince themselves, and then people who legitimately believe it.
Speaking of like flat earthers, my boss, he is definitely a flat earther, and he's an extremely intelligent guy. So it makes me question his intelligence when you tell me he's a flat earther. But I agree with what you say. Like, some people are so stuck in their belief, like, even if you prove them wrong, they're going to find excuses why. Like, I'm explaining to them, like, well, listen, have you ever been to Japan before? Or have you been east, the east side of the map before? He goes, yeah. And I was like, where do you fly? Because we're in Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, where do you fly out of? And he goes, California, usually. And I'm like, okay, but why? Why would you have to? Because you would think you would just go straight, right, from the East Coast over. And I'm like, well, why do you think you fly out of California instead of Maryland? I don't know. And I'm like, because the fucking Earth is a circle. You go around the west, and you go around, and you're back at the east. Like, and it still like doesn't wrap his head around that.
Yep. It's very, very interesting, and it's because a lot of times it's because they've put so much time and effort and energy into that belief that's like a core belief for them now, and it's incredibly difficult to break somebody's core belief.
It's like telling a Christian that Jesus is not real. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
I'm a Christian. Like, if you tell me, I'm like, no, I don't believe that. Like, even if you show me evidence and so forth, I would still probably be like, I don't believe your evidence.
Yep. And religion is a perfect example. I like, not in a like making fun way or anything. Like, a lot of people, are kind of like, oh, our God, God loves us, and this loving God. And I'd be like, when? Where? Have you read the Old Testament? He killed everybody on earth except a couple people like 3 times in the Old Testament. Like, so it's, you know what I mean? And I don't say that meanly. I'm just, I just kind of am like, hey, like, pointing out potential flaws in your core belief.
Because I mean, people who are atheists bring it to me all the time. They say, well, how come the bad people? I mean, if you look at the wealthiest people in the world, right? They are the worst fucking people. They're the worst. I mean, entertainers, basketball players, football players, musicians, they're some of the worst fucking people in the world, but they get to live to be 90 years old. They get to live the best life. And then you get someone who's a devout Christian that goes to church every Sunday, spends every fucking money. They don't do nothing, this and that. And they get hit by a bus at 35 years old. You know what I mean? And they broke their whole entire lives. So, like, where does that fairness come in, into play?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's, for me, I don't stick on that too much because, I'm kind of like, there's free will. Like, that's, I just, like, I believe that, that we have free will and we have the ability to make choices, and maybe there's a reason why certain people are taken from us too early. It's it's all part of the paradox that I might not know the answer, might never know the answer. So
when you were writing Decay, did you at any point in your mind were you writing that, okay, there's going to be a spinoff, there's going to be a sequel, or this is going to turn into a series, or did you write this knowing that this was going to be a one-off?
So when I wrote it, it was planned to be a series. When I started writing it, I did not know a multitude of things. One, where does the story go after it? No idea. Two, how many books were there going to be? No idea. I have since come to such conclusions. So yeah, when everybody's like, yeah, oh, you must have had the whole thing planned out for. Nope, I was like halfway through this book. I had no idea what I was doing for the second one. I knew there was going to be a second one, but I had no idea. So it's going to end up being a trilogy.
Okay.
Which just works out really nicely. I'm finding it harder to think of books and writing, and like, especially now that I'm in the sauce, being like, oh, I see why there are so many trilogies, because it's just such an easy, like, it's an easy 3-story arc. Like, it works the same as when you're telling a book. There's the beginning, the middle, and the end. Mm-hmm. So the first one is Decay. I have announced via my social media that the second one is going to be Deception.
Nice.
So it is it's going to be a trilogy. They're all going to be DE words. So I have to figure out the last DE word. Yeah, maybe death, destruction, perhaps something along those lines.
Decomposition.
Yes. So I will also take the moment to plug on my website, which I wrote wronghand up there. On my website, you can sign up for my mailing list to get early updates on things. I'm in the middle of writing Deception now, and everybody on my mailing list is receiving early viewing into the cover. So I will grab Decay here for anybody who hasn't seen. This is the cover for Decay, and everybody on my mailing list got the reveal of the Deception cover at the end of May. I'm going to send out an update at the end of June that will have the cover and an update on where I am, and everybody else who's not on the mailing list will have to wait until the fall to having a cover reveal.
Sweet. Now, you can lie if you want to. No, don't lie, be honest. Do you have in your mind the ending to the trilogy already?
Yes. So I know what the final conflict is, what the final moment is going to be. That is as much as I have. Like, I know what the choice has to be, and I know what that final moment has to be. In terms of how I get to that moment, mm-hmm. I know how I get there in book 1 because it's obviously out. I know how I build to it in book 1. I know how I build to it in book 2. To be honest, I have no idea how I get to that moment in book 3, but I know what that ending moment is.
Now, is it hard? So, like, halfway through book 1, you were like, okay, this is going to be a trilogy now. And was it hard finishing up book 1 and then also jumping into book 2, which you'll be doing soon, to know when to start? I mean, when to end it, or when to end it on a cliffhanger, or how you're going to end each book?
Yeah, so that actually worked out perfectly. Because they sign up for an experiment. So a logical ending point for book 1 is the end of the experiment. So I had trouble finding what was the ending of book 2 because I needed it to give a good cliffhanger for book 3. I needed it to resolve my character's struggle within the second book that sets up his struggle for the third book. So I found the second to third a lot harder trying to think through that. The first one was incredibly easy, like I said, because they sign up for an experiment. So just, okay, book 1 ends when they're done the experiment. It kind of just automatically gives itself a perfect cliffhanger ending.
Okay. Now,
which
as a
ends up being the so you get to the end of the experiment, and then your cliffhanger is this is what's actually going on, and you go, oh crap.
and you're like, oh shit, I can't wait for the second book. When it's going to come out?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now everybody's bothering me now. When's the second book coming out?
Now, okay, so as author, you're locked into this series right now. Now, are you thinking about or other books outside the series, or are you just solely focused on this series right
I am I am pleasantly plagued by many ideas. I love the shiny new object in the
now?
in the room in my mind. So I have, um, let's see, one, two, three. I have 5 other ideas that are not this trilogy that are like stacked away. When I get an idea, I try to write it down and just ping it off of a couple author friends and say like, hey, what do you think of this? Like, I'm not touching it for at least another few months, if not probably a year. Um, what do you think of this? What, does this seem interesting at all? And, they'll give me some opinions or be like, hey, this is, what about like if you tweak this little thing here? And so I'll kind of keep like a little running note so that way I can jump back into it. Yeah, the same. It's the new idea is a huge issue for me. I'm always like, oh, the shiny new thing. I want to do that instead of this.
Yeah.
Especially when you're writing the first draft and you're kind of flowing. You're like, oh yeah, and now I'm into the part where I'm editing deception. So now I'm like, okay, does this character's voice sound right? Does it like this? And like that can get monotonous.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I want to go write something new.
Now, would you ever be like, so I see some authors where they will take a break from their trilogy or their series, and like, let's say after the second book, they will take off time before you'll see the third book in 3 years, but in between there, they might release another book, number 2, that's completely outside the trilogy. Is that something you're planning on doing, or are you going to knock this trilogy out? Bang, bang, boom.
I plan on knocking the trilogy out, although I will say that between the second and third, I'm going to take like a month, maybe 2, to write a short story to make just exclusive for my mailing list. Just because I want to make sure that I give them, more updates, exclusive drops, things of that nature, to like thank them for coming on the journey, for looking at my email every month, or that I send out, and sharing on social media and things of that nature. So like I always want to try to give back a little bit more, a little something for them. So I'm going to do 2 and then 3, but I'll probably take a few weeks in between them to write a little something that will be like an exclusive for when you either are already or when you sign up for the mailing list.
Okay, good. I'm going to ask you a question that's completely off topic, but that's how my brain works.
Oh, go for it.
So, you're a huge Spider-Man fan, and you had the '93 edition. The Spider-Man cartoon that came on Fox back in the '90s, isn't that such a I know everybody talks about the X-Men cartoon, which was great. I love it.
Yep.
I love the reboot on Disney.
Fantastic reboot.
Fantastic, amazing. But even like Batman anime series, people talk about how great it was, which it was. But people think no one brings up the Spider-Man. That Spider-Man cartoon was pretty badass.
That Spider-Man cartoon was great. I went back and was rewatching it. And like any TV show, there are definitely episodes that are like fall flat on its face.
Yes.
But hey, there's episodes of X-Men that totally fall flat on its face if you rewatch it now. Yeah, no, I thought the Spider-Man cartoon was great. And they did morph as the show went on. Like if you go back and like rewatch it and thinking about it, as a kid I don't notice it, but as an adult I'm like, oh, they did a very like villain of the week thing for the first like 13-ish episodes. And then after that they start getting into like more long form
Mhm.
like storytelling, where like, oh, these 6 or 7 episodes are going to be one arc. And I always remember from the Spider-Man series that they did Secret Wars. I
Yes.
loved those set of episodes.
Yes.
That was the coolest thing for me as a
Yeah.
kid, because I had the X-Men toys and the Spider-Man, and I was like, this is like when I'm playing with my toys.
Yes. Yes. I'm telling you, it was the 90s was such a. I know, they had the Marvel movies come out in the 2000s shit, but
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the 90s, and like the 90s was big when it came to superheroes. I mean,
Yes.
it was huge. Yes, they didn't have the big name movies, but the cartoons, the toys, even the video games. I mean, talking about Spider-Man, Maximum Carnage was
Yes.
that's such a underrated video game. Like you
Mm-hmm.
don't hear no one talk about that game.
Yep. I used to waste quarters in the arcade playing the X-Men, where you could have like
Oh
eight
yes.
people playing the game at once.
I
Oh,
actually beat that game. I actually beat that game in the arcade.
oh
I
wow.
probably so much fucking money, but I actually beat that game. And it was like me and like 4 random dudes I didn't even fucking know. We just fucking went at
Yep.
it and just tore that game apart.
Oh yeah. No, me and my cousins would go. There's 5 of us, and we would play it for like hours.
And I remember because I remember playing that game, and then I heard that they were releasing the X-Men game for the Sega Genesis. I was like,
Mhm.
oh. And I went out and bought it the first day, and I put it into my Sega Genesis. I'm aging myself right now, but I put it into my Sega Genesis, and I was like, this is not the same fucking game. This is not. And I never understood why they never released that X-Men onto a console,
Yeah.
that arcade game.
Yep. I think you can get it with an arcade. What are they called? Arcade one-ups, I think.
Yes,
They're like the little mini. I've always wanted to get one of those, but then I've always been like, where would I put it?
I don't have any room. I don't
Yeah, I
have
was like,
any room.
where am I putting an
for
arcade
it.
machine in here?
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. It was a fantastic, and like everything was like superheroes, even if they weren't superheroes. Like I was a huge Power Rangers kid.
Me too.
Totally superheroes.
Power Ranger, Ninja Turtles,
Yes.
superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
Like superheroes were fucking hitting it out of the park, and I wish the Marvel would have came out because I just feel like, I just feel like the generation, like I'm a old millennial. I feel like the new millennials and the Gen Zers don't appreciate the fucking Marvel shit because they are getting the Marvel Disney big name movies. They don't understand the grind because I remember when that first X-Men movie came out, I want to say I was a junior or senior in high school, and I remember I was so excited, and I went to see that on a Saturday morning, a matinee movie, which was only old people in there, and you got a free comic book, which I still have, and I remember being so excited to see that the X-Men was actually getting a real fucking movie.
Yeah. No, I was totally about the X-Men movie, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies.
Mm-hmm.
It was my second date with my first girlfriend. We went to go see, I think it was the second one in theaters. So yeah, no, it's it was the same thing. Like I couldn't believe that there was real people
Yes.
able to do some of these things.
It was amazing. And then like the Punisher, the movie came out with Thomas Jane. It was like they were popping like the early Marvel movies. Yes, after Iron Man, it fucking blew up. But I'm talking about the early Iron Man movies. I mean, you had the X-Men, you had the Spider-Man, and then like I said, that Thomas Jane Punisher was
I
so
loved
badass.
that Punisher movie.
Oh, I love that movie. Is that not the best Punisher movie?
Oh yeah, easily. And what's it? Wesley Snipes? The Blade movies were friggin' awesome.
Oh, Blade movies were badass. It's like people forgot that like Marvel had some before Disney bought Marvel. They were pumping out some awesome ass fucking comic book movies, and they were more of adult themed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so got you way off topic, but I'm a huge superhero. I collect comic books. I still have my comic book collection. There, I put them in plastic. I'm a huge comic book nerd, on par with horror. So huge
Hey,
comic nerd.
I'm not. I like some DC stuff. I'm not too into it, but I love Marvel. Totally into it.
Marvel, yeah, I agree. Marvel is a shit. Now, all right, so listen, let's just shoot over to your other book, which is called Five.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Five.
Yeah. So I'll throw it up here real quick, just so everybody can see it. Funny story. The dude kind of looks like somebody I work with, and a lot of people have been like, "Is that guy?" And I'm like, "No, it's not. I paid some random artist to like." It's got to be him. No, it's not him. Anyway, yeah. So Five was my experiment into attempting to write a book and release it, and I picked it up during COVID. I started working with a writing coach and was like, I'm really going to try this. Like, try it for real. And to test it out, because I love the shiny new object, as I said before, I'm going to write a short story collection. So Five is a short story collection with, you guessed it, 5 short stories. And if you were to look on Amazon and purchase a physical copy, you would find that it's for $5.
Oh,
So it became a marketing thing very quickly. It's 5. There's 5 short stories for $5. So it just kind of rolls right off the tongue. What I did for that is I actually wrote each short story as its own like subgenre of horror thriller. So when you get it, you're going to get a cult, like a killer cult story. You're going to get a detective serial killer. You're going to get a teens 80s style slasher. You're going to get a how are these people going to escape type thriller. And you will get a psychological thriller with a lawyer and supposedly his client is the actual killer. So I kind of wrote 5 different subgenres.
nice. Now, was it hard to get into the mindset to write different subgenres?
In the beginning, yes. It was a little difficult to make sure that I was effectively coming across with that subgenre. I found that once I kind of let's say after about a week of planning and doing a little bit of writing, I kind of started to find a groove. And once you kind of find a groove, it kind of comes a little bit easier. It also gives me an easier like in and out, because a lot of things become just a few scenes and then you're done, as opposed to trying to lengthen something out to like 50,000, 60,000 words or more. So you can kind of come in and be like, hey, everything happens in this one scene and then we're done. Or maybe there's only these 2 scenes and then we're kind of done. So it makes it a little bit easier to pick and pull and change, just because of how short form it is. I will say the absolute hardest one to write was the thriller where a bunch of thieves are trying to get out of a house surrounded by cops, and like how are they going to escape without getting caught? Because there's like a mystery element to how the cops get called, and so I had to be like, okay, how does this work? Like, what's the plan? And then how does somebody else figure out the plan? Like you have to, and writing it, I gained such a bigger appreciation for mystery writers, because you have to know how the trick is done, and then figure out how to leave clues that make sense, that aren't obvious, that then lead you to what the mystery is. Like, if you were paying enough attention, you would see it. But you can't make it too obvious. You can't make it too hard. If you make it too obvious for the audience, then it's also too obvious to the characters. So I gained a whole new appreciation for like thriller and mystery writers with that one.
I also can imagine, also too, it's tough in that aspect too to put all those pieces in, but also make it into a short story.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also playing off of characters, getting inside the head of the character and saying, this doesn't logically make sense, but to this character it does. Because I know somebody had given me a little bit of feedback, and they were like, this thing right here doesn't make sense. Like, somebody wouldn't do that. And I said, you mean you wouldn't do that?
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah. And I was like, but would the character do that? Would they think that? And then they thought about it, and they were like, no, yeah, you're right. Like, what? Like, I was reading it and saying I wouldn't do that, and I was like, but the character you're reading about would do that, and that can be like really jarring sometimes.
Yeah. By the way, I give it up to authors because I mean, you have to think differently. I feel like than the average human being because especially when you come to writing, because I would never even think of that. Like if I was writing, I would probably the characters would think like me.
Yes, that is one of the hardest things.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing I struggle with is my characters all sounding like me, talking like me. Like they all think their own way. They all think and like say things that are independent of themselves, but the way they say it is how I talk. So with every single story I've written, including all of the ones in 5, including Decay, including Deception that I'm editing right now, every single one of them, I write the whole thing, and then when I go back and I edit it before sending it out to beta readers, I then edit. I then go like, okay, this is how this character is supposed to talk and sound, and so now I need to edit everything that they've said so it sounds like them now. Now that I know what they need to say, I have to change to how they would say it.
Oh man, I can imagine that stuff. So, all right, Andrew, where can everyone find you?
Yes, you can find me on social media. I'm on Instagram. I am on Facebook, author Andrew Kaib. And you can find me at my website, authorandrewkaib.com, where you can see my book, see my listing, find out info about me, and sign up for my mailing list if you're interested.
One last question. Do you think Disney has killed Marvel?
That's a really good question. I think that Disney's pushing output is what killed Marvel. And what will get Marvel back on track is decreasing the amount of content they put out. So that way they can handle the projects better.
Andrew, I'm telling you, listen, I would see every single Marvel movie in the theaters, theatrical release. I would see every single one of them. And I was even watching Daredevil and Luke Cage and The Punisher on Netflix. Like, but then it got to the point where the Disney Plus channel came up and they were pushing a new fucking show every fucking week. And I was like, and it was a movie coming out every other week. I was like, this is too much. There's no way this is like a full-time job to invest into the Marvel universe.
Yeah. A lot of people have come out and said this who were like writers and directors and stuff. And I believe it. They're pushing so much content that it turned into a quantity over quality.
Yes.
And so I think the way you rewrite that ship is you scale everything back, which I think they're doing. The only movie coming out this year is Deadpool, which I'm repping the shirt for. And I think they said there are only like one TV. What If came out, and then I think they said there's only like one or maybe 2 TV shows this year.
See, I've never seen like I've been told that Loki is great.
Loki's great.
I haven't had time to sit there and watch it. I heard that She-Hulk wasn't good.
Nah.
But I don't know what to watch and what not to watch. It is just like so confusing now. But I hope they bring back the John Berthenol. I think that's how I pronounce the name. Who I met him, a nice guy. I hope they bring his Punisher back. I liked his Punisher.
Yeah, I hope they do because they clearly have Charlie Cox as Daredevil, and they clearly have Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin. So I'm kind of hoping that means they're going to keep everybody else from. Because even the woman that played Jessica Jones, I thought she was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I forget what her name is, but
I love the Netflix. I love what Netflix did with Marvel, and I hope Disney brings those characters over, not all at once, but like over time.
yeah, no, I agree.
I'm more excited about the Punisher. I hope the Punisher gets a season 3. I hope so.
Yes, I'm right there with you. He fantastic actor, great series.
All right, everybody, listen. Get over and grab your copy. Go on over to Amazon. And by the way, it's easy as this. Just type in Andrew's name, and all his 2 books will pop right up. Oop, 5
right at the top.
Decay. Just easy as that.
Apparently, nobody else has my name.
Yes, it's that easy because I definitely looked up other authors, and it's like I'm like, well, this is a religious book. I don't think this is the right author, but okay. Like, so like it was easy as that. Your 2 books just popped up, and I was like, this is amazing.
Yes.
So get over to
Very
Amazon. Yes, grab your copies. Andrew, it's been a pleasure having you on, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No problem. All right, buddy. Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and we'll see you next time. Take care.